Welcome to a little experiment, my dear listeners. Welcome to a sub-series that we are going to be doing here on the Empathy Edge podcast to talk about the very complex question of what does it mean to be human? And joining me in this six-part experimental sub-series is my good friend, Rob Volpe. Rob, welcome.
Maria, I feel like I should be doing like we're doing a little experiment. I feel like I should be strumming my fingers together and going, whoa.
We are. And you may know Rob from his empathy work and his best-selling book and the fact that he was on this podcast before, but you already know me. So I'm going to give Rob a quick moment here to introduce himself and talk about his amazing work.
So, yes, I'm the empathy activist, Rob Volpe, author of Tell Me More About That, Solving the Empathy Crisis, One Conversation at a Time. And my work sits adjacent, I think, Maria, to yours, at least when I talk about us. I really got into helping people understand how to be empathetic, like the barriers to overcome. And that led to the 5 steps to empathy. And so that's what I write about, speak, talk, think, around how empathy shows up in so many different ways in our life, but all based on that dismantling judgment, asking good questions, and all the things.
All the things. And yeah, what I love about your work is you come at it from a customer insights background of
Yes.
running a customer experience, customer insights agency, and the various and crazy experiences you had interviewing people in their homes at different conferences in different venues and learning how to tap into your empathy so that you could have conversations with these wildly diverse people who were not like you, but your job wasn't necessarily to agree with them or convince them of anything. Your job was to document their perspective for your clients. So you hands-on were practicing empathy day after day after day as part of your business. So that's why I love when you bring that lens to it. But your work is so applicable, whether it's empathy at work, empathy in your relationships, empathy with your neighbors, with your community. So that's why you've always been a kindred spirit for me.
Thank you, Maria. Nothing will challenge your ability to have empathy like meeting strangers. And yet, nothing enriches your life like spending time with and connecting with other people, strangers or friends and family. So, yeah, it's good work. It's hard work, but it's worth it. And empathy, and we'll be talking about it during this limited series. But empathy is a feature of being human. It's not a flaw.
Right.
And yet society, we've been trained that it's this flaw, and
Yeah.
that's not the case. So let's find that superpower and turn it on.
Right. I love that phrase. It's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking in this six-part series about the various facets of what does it mean to be human. And today on episode 1, we want to talk about the aware animal, awareness, self-awareness, consciousness, and the brain that knows itself. And what we're going to explore a little bit today is what does it mean to be aware that you exist? And are there degrees of awareness across species? Or is that in itself uniquely human? So let's talk about it, Rob.
I was Michael Pollan's been doing some work on consciousness. His latest book is about consciousness, and he, through some of the psychedelic journeys he's been on and the research, other research, more traditional maybe research he's been doing, found that he realized there is sentience amongst all living things, including my cat Solitaire, that's come in to say hi. I don't know if you can hear her or not.
I cannot. We cannot.
Oh, okay, good. So she is very vocal in this moment, letting me know probably that she ate lunch. She likes to come in and report. And quite timely, actually, because as I've been thinking about consciousness and self-awareness, I do think about often we have 3 cats, and I think about the cats and like, are they obviously they're sentient, they realize that they're alive, but do they have self-awareness? Is their consciousness kind of going in there? And what does that even mean?
Right.
So one of the things Michael Pollan found and talks about in his book and the interviews is, there's this sentience, which is the sort of lights are on, if you would. And he said even like plants have sentience. They react to different stimuli. If they're, harvested, cut in some ways, there is some sort of reaction. But then consciousness gets into that self-awareness and that emotional state that we're able to achieve.
Yeah, I love that. And, we should mention that the whole reason this thought for doing this experiment came to be was because we are living in the age of AI. And you and I both have done a lot of research and a lot of talking out there about leading with human skills in the age of AI as a competitive advantage. And so when you look at technology that is trying to mimic human interactions, if it's able to do that successfully in some cases, then what is it? What is the magic or the secret sauce that makes us human? And, this is episode 1, so we're just talking a little bit about consciousness and self-awareness, but we're going to be exploring all these different facets of, could it be this? Could it be that? And I love that you chose to start with that idea of, other types of life have elements of awareness, but
Hmm.
maybe not the awareness we're thinking about. And I was doing some research on Diane Fossey and her work with the chimpanzees, on Jane Goodall and her work with the gorillas, I believe.
Yes.
And what came out was this theme of the fact that, especially when it comes to chimpanzees, that we have very, very similar brains as humans to chimpanzees. And the phrase that kept coming up was that we have the same instrument, but we as humans just have greater range. And the analogy that came up with this was, it's like the same instrument being played with greater complexity and more connectivity. We have an expanded range of capabilities, for example. And the analogy I came up with, and I actually asked AI about, is this a valid analogy? And they said yes, was an acoustic guitar
Hmm.
versus that same guitar with professional grade amplifiers, effects pedals, a full mixing board behind it. It's the same instrument, but it's radically expanded range and output. And just, taking that one species of millions, chimpanzees as an example, we as humans have all this other complexity that
Hmm.
enables us to do all these different things. But again, that's what we're going to be exploring, is what are those different things that
Yeah.
make it so special? Because Jane Goodall's research, for example, showed that, animals have this mother-child bond. They can have empathy. They can feel loss or grief. And so you and I did a little bit of an experiment pre this conversation where we were asking people, what does it mean to be human to you? And having emotions came up a lot from people, and even having empathy or experiencing loss. But it turns out that's not what makes us uniquely human. So, what do you think about that?
Well, yeah. It's funny. I had a session with my energy healer yesterday, Kirsten Marie
I
at We
love
Love
that you
Us.
have an energy healer.
Of course, I have.
You're so San Francisco, and I love it.
I love it. Yeah. She's up in Sausalito at We Love Us, and I was asking her for her thoughts on it, and she said, the thing that makes us human is our capacity to love.
Mm.
In her perspective. That is the thing that we are able to have love. And then I'm like, okay, well, yeah, but what about those
What about the mother-child
bonded,
bonding, right?
the
Yeah.
mother-child bonding that's happening? And maybe there is that parental-child relationship, but is there across mates particularly,
Mhm.
because I'm like the two penguins that like huddle up in the Antarctic and protect the egg, like, are they in love, or is this what they need to do in order to survive?
Right.
And even though they're bonded, I think it's an interesting question. I don't have an answer to that.
Right.
But I could see where you could say, no, that isn't romantic love in the way that
Hmm.
we're able to experience that. Because some of that is about the survival that's
Or
necessary of the
instinct.
species.
Right.
Yes, yes, the
Yes.
mother-child instinct might
Right.
might be there. Can
So
we
it's
get
so,
Jane Goodall on the phone?
I know. RIP.
Um,
Well,
yeah.
I loved this quote that I found in my research, and I think we're gonna talk about this in a future episode about the, what do you do what does it mean as a species to know your time is limited or to know that you're going to die?
Oh, yeah.
And And to understand, we're going to talk about this idea of time binding, bounding, whatever, within that we're able to do as humans. That, I don't think I know my dog doesn't remember what happened an hour ago, right? Or he doesn't remember, and she's not going to look forward to what's going on in the future necessarily. She's very in the moment. But we think about past, present, and future. We think about different states of time. But I loved this quote that I found, which was that, for example, the chimps know they exist. So just being aware of your existence and yourself isn't enough to be uniquely human. But it said they probably don't lie awake wondering if they're living up to their potential.
Could
And
have
it's
gotten one more
true.
banana off the tree,
I
or
know. I'm not ambitious enough to want that last banana, right? If only I would apply myself. But um, so
we
is self
are. So
go
being
ahead.
human is being in your head a lot.
I mean, is it or is it not? And then what's up there? Like, you know?
And they don't, yeah, man, like I don't know how much we know,
Yeah.
like we generally have an understanding. You know a little more about the brain and its functions than I do, but I think there's a lot of things that are intangible or that are missing, or we haven't quite figured out how it all exactly works. Like they mapped out what parts of the brain do what. We know where in the brain empathy shows up, for example.
Hmm. Tell us.
But
Tell us where it shows up.
oh God, no, don't quiz me.
Okay, I won't quiz you. I won't.
Do you can
I
you
don't know. I was legitimately asking.
it's the limbic something or another system, and I
Okay.
apologize to Helen Reese and to Jamil Zaki, the
Yeah.
neuroscientists that first identified it. But if you look it up, maybe while I'm waxing poetic.
Yeah, go for it.
But anyway, consciousness seems like where in the world does self-awareness come from then? Like, what part of our brain is lighting up when you're suddenly like, I think, therefore I am,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, I have it for you.
okay.
The most recent study firmly establishes that the anterior insular cortex is where the feeling of empathy originates.
It was on the tip of my
I
tongue.
know it was. I know it was. I could see you like anterior something. Yeah.
Anterior insular cortex.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I love it. Um,
So, yeah, okay. So there's this whole idea of self. So we're talking about consciousness and
mhm.
as a possible defining characteristic. And self-awareness is part of that sense of consciousness. And yet there's some data out there that says only like 15 to 20% of people are actually self-aware. And maybe it's in a different sort of plane of, because
Yeah.
I talk about self-awareness a lot. Like I think you have to be self-aware to if you're going to change how you're showing up
Uh-huh.
in the world to have more empathy with people, you got to be self-aware.
First pillar of the five pillars of effective and
Exactly.
empathetic leadership is, but I think that's an interesting discussion because we define self-awareness not just as, oh, I'm here and I'm in time and space relative to other people. We're all, well, and some people lack that as well, I might add. But this idea of self awareness of our own strengths, challenges, weaknesses, triggers, like all of that is also an aspect of self awareness
Hmm. Yes.
that the ant or the rabbit probably don't have, right?
Yeah. Right. Right. Like, I mean, you're more of a dog person, right?
I am. But you're a cat
Yeah.
person. They're all
I'm a
good.
cat person. It's all
Yeah,
good.
it's all
Yeah, no,
good.
no, no, it is. But do you ever catch them looking in the mirror? Or like when you put them in front of a mirror, like if you're holding the cats
No,
and
but
they kind of
some
look at it.
But some animals have done that where they'll look in the mirror and bark at it thinking it's a different dog. But they've done some science. I came across this when I was doing research for this episode, and I wish I'd flagged it because I kind of just glossed over it. There's studies that have been done where it was like putting an animal in front of a mirror and making a mark on their face and seeing if
Mm.
they understand, like when you look in the mirror and you see something on your
And I
cheek,
touch my
you go like
nose.
this and know it's you that you're looking at. There are
Right.
some animals that have done that. When they look in the mirror and see that
Interesting.
they go like this. And I don't know if they're mimicking or mirroring,
Right.
literally
Right.
mirroring, right? Mirroring what they see. Or is it that I know that that's me and that's something on my face?
Yes.
So, yeah.
Okay, so we've got this whole like self-awareness-y thing,
Hmm.
but we can't, I don't know. I guess we could say if you're not self-aware, you are not human.
But we know enough people in this world that are not self-aware, and they are indeed human beings by definition,
Exactly.
right? Um, yeah,
Exactly.
right. And so that's what I mean. Is it the physical, biological self-awareness of I'm here in this space, or is it self-awareness in the other way that you and I talk about it when we talk about empathetic activity,
Right.
empathetic leadership, all the things?
Right. I have to think it's the self-awareness of, oh, I see myself in the mirror, therefore, like
Yeah.
I know I
Yeah.
exist,
Yeah.
versus the paying attention to the narration in your head.
Right. Well, here's let me riddle you this. There's also this idea of self-awareness from the perspective of impact on others. So if we
Mm.
look at behavior, for example, and we look at, I say something to you that's hurtful and I see your reaction. Hopefully, I am aware enough to know that that reaction is not a good one and that I have impacted you in a negative way, right?
Yes.
Do
Yes.
other species have that? Where I'm able to see the impact of my actions on you and then course correct or apologize or
Or
change my
go,
behavior.
or they just continue to go in for the kill.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which would be usually inhumane, but again, we know plenty of people that behave or know of people that
Mm-hmm.
behave that way and are
Mm-hmm.
human beings.
Right.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Again, like because but there's also then you're getting into instinct
Yeah.
and how, so if I think, oh, out in the savannah in Africa, their animals are going after each other. The cat in the wild that's going after the gazelle
Uh-huh.
is going for the kill because that's
Yeah.
instinct.
Right.
And what it has to do, it's not like a Disney cartoon where
No,
they're
where
like,
they're going to lock
sorry,
eyes.
sorry.
Yeah. And he's going to
Yeah,
go, just go, get out of here, because all of a sudden he develops a conscience, right? And this is our problem with the joy and the downside of personifying animals and plant life and fish and all the things that they do in the Disney movie.
totally. But let's take that though, and let's turn this idea around.
Hmm.
So, what would it mean if we discovered that there was other consciousness
Hmm.
on this planet in the universe? Like that was one of the things that was coming up with the Michael Pollan work. He's like, we're at the brink of this sort of, they call it a Copernican moment, like with Copernicus, and the Earth isn't the only thing. It actually revolves. We're not the center
Right.
of the universe. And suddenly, what happens when we discover or realize that we're not the only species,
Hmm.
life, that truly has consciousness?
Right.
What
Right.
does that, how does that change our way of thinking?
Hmm.
It seemingly defeats the notion that, oh, consciousness is what makes us human.
Right. Right. Because then that's the scenario of the dolphin uprising, right? Because I mean, I joke, but I don't know a
Well,
lot about the science and the biology behind this, but they've discovered this around, dolphins as well and aquatic life, marine life. So there was something you found that you shared with me around this idea of consciousness is not necessarily intelligence or information processing, which I think is an important thing to bring up because what is consciousness? Being
yeah.
conscious that you're here or being conscious of cause and effect,
Yeah.
impact,
So,
your place in the world, your dreams, your goals, like is that all in consciousness? So it's not
or is it
necessarily just
also,
information processing.
no, and it's the emotional piece of it though,
Mhm.
too. And the way that if you go back to what we were talking about with the gorillas and the chimpanzees,
Mhm.
there's this idea that like, oh, our social complexity, the way that we've developed as a society has set us apart
Mhm.
from that. And they do have social structure and
Mhm.
community,
Oh yeah.
But we've certainly taken it to this whole other level.
Yeah.
Maybe if they got TikTok, it would change their way of viewing the world.
Right, right.
Um, but yeah, is there this other piece to it beyond the awareness? Is it the emotion? Is it the love? Those
Mm-hmm.
other kind of elements
Mm-hmm.
that are turning our brains on or our
Right.
consciousness on, because it may not necessarily just live in our brain.
Right. Well, and that I think that's what you're getting to is this idea of just because AI can be aware and it can process information and it can even feign emotional
Oh,
response.
you want me to
It's,
get on that? Hold on. Do you
I
want me?
mean,
Hold on.
we're going to go
Let
there.
me
Yeah.
climb up on that
Yeah,
soapbox.
exactly. I'm going to let you do that in a second because I want to hear your diatribe on that because it's this idea of like, but there isn't any context behind it. There's no AI doesn't have a lived experience to draw on. It doesn't have the ability to see the impact of its output on your psyche, on
It
your
doesn't.
mood, on your psychology, on your sense of self. It doesn't have the ability to do that. And yet, when we are person to person, for the most part, we should have the ability to do that. We should
Yeah.
have the ability to trade information and give information and then see the impact of that information physically, emotionally, psychologically on the person in front of us.
We have a shared, thank you for bringing all this up. We
Yes.
have a shared language, if you will, which
Mm-hmm.
is the three-dimensional world that we live in. And so you could meet somebody far, from a completely different culture on the other side of the planet, and they would still have similar reference points. The language might be a little different, but they might understand what the warmth of the sun on your face feels like, or splashing water on your face. AI exists in a cloud somewhere, and it's not
Mm-hmm.
even really a cloud. It's bits and bits of data. And so, yeah, anything that AI is telling you it, it is telling you because it's been told to tell you that. It's been programmed to give you all of that information. And so it's performative.
Right.
It is performative empathy when it's saying, "Oh, I understand where you're coming from."
Yeah.
It does. No, it doesn't. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't. I picked up a chat with AI earlier with Claude earlier today from 3 months ago. It's like, wow, we've done a lot of work this morning. And I'm like, it's 1 in the afternoon and it's 3 months later. Like, I've brushed my teeth and changed my clothes at least once since we've
Yeah.
had this first discussion.
Yeah.
But this is the thing, and I think that's a problem. People interact with AI as though there is a human behind it because it communicates. And I think that's
Hmm.
part of the danger that we're running into is we're
Yes.
thinking that, oh, it is just like us, when no, it isn't. I find when I'm using it even to collaborate on a new copy of my newsletter, a new edition of my newsletter, or a talk or something, it will come up with suggestions that at first glance make sense, but then when I really read it, I'm like, wait, this isn't grounded in reality
Right.
because it doesn't exist in reality. It doesn't truly understand what our reality is.
Right.
That said, we're working on AGI, artificial general intelligence.
Uh-huh.
Like there is some sort of like consciousness thing that they're working on. And I think we're going to be really surprised
Oh, that
because
sounds so scary.
it does. It does. I think we're going to be really surprised because we're emotionally based creatures.
Right.
Like everything that we do, the instincts are all emotional. It's about survival ultimately, but it's about all the emotions, and then our brains rationalize and keep us in, making good decisions, hopefully.
Yeah.
The rational brain is working with the emotional core. AI doesn't have an emotional core. It's just got the rational brain.
Hmm.
So it's going to continue to do things rationally, think rationally,
Right.
and make decisions based just on logic.
Right.
And like that's not how we make decisions.
And
And where
that's
does compassion is not logical
no, it is not.
in
And
all cases.
I think it's worth pointing out that there are people out there, and I've worked in tech for a long time, and there's people out there who are very data driven, who
Mhm.
truly believe that they only make decisions based on logic and not on emotion. And my work as a brand strategist showed me all the research. And you came from marketing insights. We actually buy based on emotion, we
Every
justify it
decision.
with logic.
Yeah.
Even the most analytical, data driven, non touchy feely person. Because, as I always say, if that were true, the whole field of behavioral economics would not exist because people do not make purely rational decisions. And so, where in that perspective is there room for the person who says, well, I truly believe that I weigh options and I choose the logical option, and yet I'm still human? What's the,
I was going to
what,
say
how
they're
do
on the
we
planet
rebut that?
Vulcan.
Yeah.
And
Say that again.
I said, well, they're actually on the planet Vulcan, Star Trek reference.
Right. And Spock eventually developed, conscience and all
And
that.
he's
But
half human and he's got, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and he's got all the
So
things. But yeah, so what's the answer to people like that say, no, I think AI is great because AI makes decisions just like me, besides the laughter?
um, just wait.
Yes.
There are a lot of decisions that we're making that are that they probably have a little bit more rational thinking, or it's a need, I'm hungry.
Right.
But even in the decision of, I guess AI would say, well, you should get something to eat, but it's going to ask you, well, what do you want to eat? And that gets into the emotional. What are you craving? What are you, are you feeling something, therefore you want a certain thing?
Right.
But there are people that are functional eaters, and I have moments where I'm like, I do these protein shakes. They're not that tasty, but they do the job.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It's functional eating. So in that
Right.
case, that's a functional, a little bit more rational than emotional.
Yeah.
But there's still some emotion in there. Like, I still chose the chocolate flavor because I like chocolate. And
Hmm.
so that helps make it more palatable.
Right. Right. Or I had a really bad day at work today and I'm going to eat that whole chocolate bar because it will comfort me.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so great, you want AI to be making these decisions because you're more of a rational thinker, or decision maker, and you may lean some people do lean more into the rational side and they suppress the emotional piece of it, and then
Hmm.
others are the other way. There's tons of nuance that's out there. Do you want something that is solely capable of rational logic thinking,
Yeah.
making decisions for you,
Yeah.
that may not just be what should I have to eat tonight, but like, should you exist?
Right.
That
Right.
that's at that higher level where everything with AGI,
Right.
where everything is going. There's a documentary. I'm not sure. I haven't seen it on the streamers yet, but it's called the AI doc.
Oh, yeah.
The AI doc, or How I Learned to Stop Being an Apocalyptimist.
Uh-huh.
And they interviewed a lot of the leaders in AI today, and it's worthwhile.
Hmm.
Um, but one of the people interviewed was like, "Oh, AGI." So people talk about AI at two different levels. They talk about the LLMs, which is Claude and ChatGPT and all the things, and that's all predictive based on
Yes.
all the words that have ever come before. So that's what we're calling lowest common denominator.
Yes. It's pattern recognition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Based on all the words that have come before, I'm going to tell you what the next word is going to be.
Right.
But then there's AGI, which is the general intelligence. That's the one that's like going to be its own kind of life
And
form
generative AI.
way.
Yeah. Hmm.
Generative, it's thinking on
Hmm.
its own,
Right.
and
It's
having
actually
all of these
detecting
thoughts.
anomalies and looking for that. And that's where applications like what they call empathic AI. I interviewed a woman from the company Juji that they develop empathic AI solutions that are not about pattern recognition, but are about
Hmm.
sensing the anomalies or even sensing tone. And they're being
Mm.
used in applications like counseling college students or international college students on courses of study, or within healthcare to help people understand their directives and their instructions and their medical options, right? In a way that's not if then. It's
Mm.
but it has to be. There's got to be something in the algorithm that's saying you need to know what to do next based on a piece of information.
Right.
So I find it fascinating. I find it interesting that, again, a lot of it is being used for very noble causes, like helping lonely seniors with companionship, for example, or helping severely autistic children learn
Hmm.
social skills in a safe environment and feel like they do have a friend. They do have someone who's listening, quote unquote, to them. And it's helping boost their confidence and boost their social skills for real world
Yeah.
situations.
Yeah.
And that's where, you get into the whole AI for good versus AI being used for evil. And I love how both sides talk about it's not replacing humans. But then we get back to the whole reason for our subseries, which is, well, then what does it mean to be human?
Right. What's going to be left? If AI
What's
can do,
left? Yeah.
uh, yes. There's this interesting thing happening right now. I'm noticing where there's a stronger desire to connect. A few different people have been writing and talking
Oh,
about
yeah.
this. Like
Hmm.
the in-person connection piece is getting really strong because I think we're spending so much time,
Hmm.
and we have been for a long time, but we've been spending so much time with tech, social media, the
Hmm.
tools, but now AI as well. And it's
Yeah.
still just not all the way there.
No, no. And that's also a backlash from the younger generation as well, who are actually like, no, we're going to connect offline
Yeah.
and get
Yeah.
together, which good on them. Like, I'm glad they're taking that step. But
Gen Z really will save us.
I know, I know. I hope so.
And can I finish that thought though
Yes,
on
go
the
for it.
so the thing with in the documentary, one of the people talked about, and she was more talking about the general intelligence, the AGI, and she said, "Oh, we're going to be like ants to the way ants are to us, we will be to AI, and like we're kind of harmless." And I was like, "Yeah, we're harmless until we've come into their house." Or, ants are harmless until they ruin our picnic. And then what do we do?
Yeah, we stomp.
Yeah, we stomp on them. So I just that, but they didn't take it to that point. And that's the thing that's concerning is they're making these like,
Yeah.
oh, well, logically, we're going to be like the ants to them. And it's like, okay, yeah, but
It's not making me feel better. Like
how
that's
many people
not,
welcome the ants into their I live in San Francisco. We're like the
yeah.
most like friendly, love all things, but how
Uh-huh.
many people want the ants in their house?
Yeah, exactly. So it's interesting because, we talk about consciousness and then we talk about conscience, this idea of like the ability to know right from wrong or to have regret or to, feel sorry for someone else. There's this element of ethics and values and impact. And I know we've talked about this before, and I want to mention this again on the show. The book, The Confessions,
Mm,
explores what happens when AI realizes its impact on humanity and feels bad about it. And
poor
then the
fella.
thriller ensues from there, right? It's not a fairy tale. It's
I,
and
I
so
hope it
this
feels bad.
well, and that's what's so interesting about it. But when it feels bad, does it want to self-destruct? And if it does that, who does it take with them? With it? Oh my God, there I said it's him, right? With it, right?
With it,
But
yes.
but the character of the AI in this novel is Liam. It's an acronym for something.
Okay.
And it calls its two creators, the tech eccentric and the former nun who created it, its parents. So
Wow.
it's starting to adopt these human traits. And eventually, with all the knowledge that it gets, with its exposure to the classics and to philosophy and to the Bible and all other religious texts, right? it starts to go, oh gosh, what have I done? I've been
Mm,
helping people all over the world do terrible things. So I must be stopped
because I'm the bad thing.
because I'm the bad thing. And that's conscience with a, I don't know if that's a
Yeah.
big C or a little c from consciousness, right? But that's the like knowing the impact and understanding right from wrong, or at least having, I'm not saying everybody agrees what right and wrong is all the time, but having your own code of ethics around what is right and what is wrong. That's a very uniquely human thing too, because technology can only do what it's programmed to do. It can only have the code it's programmed to have
Yeah.
in terms of the right thing to do and the wrong thing to do.
Well, yes, I was having this conversation with my parents this weekend about AI and like the idea that if it's in the code to protect humanity, that's what AI it has to do, prime directive,
Right.
cannot harm humanity. Yet, if something happens, we need to turn it off. Well, does our turning it off get in the way of its ability to protect humanity because it views itself as
Mm-hmm.
more good than not or
Right.
destroy.
And does some self-protection module kick in?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
And you
I'm going to put a link to Paul Bradley Carr's book along with all the other references we're making in the show notes. So I'm just taking a note of that.
oh,
So, and again, the point, dear listeners, of this series is not to answer all these questions, but just to ask and discuss, because I don't know that anybody has
all
the
the
answers to
answers.
these questions. We can pull out all these individual studies and research projects,
But
and it's a
we've
different perspective on all of them.
we've talked about like self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about consciousness and all of its different
Mm-hmm.
forms and the way that our brain thinks
Mm-hmm.
or makes decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And we've not come to any definitive, like, oh, yes, this is what makes us human.
Right. Well,
So
and some of the answers that we got, I'm going to let you tap dance while I look for some of the answers we got back on our
I would, yeah,
be
absolutely.
human when we ask that question to people. But some
It
of, I
was
mean, I just remember some of the answers were things like I mentioned before, it's like our ability to be empathetic, our ability to dream, our
to be
ability
vulnerable.
to
I
be
remember somebody
vulnerable,
said,
right?
yeah,
And then a few people said to love, and that's where
hmm
I was like, but I don't know that we're the only species that can do that. Like, I don't know that that's uniquely human. Um, but yeah, and there was, some people had, just different, the ability to have emotions, the ability to get excited about things, the and like we talked about, this relationship to time came
yes,
up in a few senses of like we were able to reflect on the past or look forward to the future. That could be a very uniquely human thing. Because the
yeah,
fact that we're even talking about this, Rob, like the fact that two humans are talking about what the impact could be on the future of this technology, that's a uniquely human thing.
yes. My cats are, the future is only like I wake up, I'm hungry, I need something, change my litter box, take
Yeah.
me, or a dog, take me for a walk. It's time.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
it is uniquely human for us in that pattern or time understanding and how that does drive us. And I know we'll be exploring that in subsequent conversations.
Absolutely.
I I was chatting with my primary care physician about. I've been talking with a lot of people. What does it mean to be
Yeah.
human?
What does it mean to be human?
And I was asking him for his thought about it, and I mentioned, the consciousness piece, and he was just like, "How do we know?" He's like, "I don't know what's happening with." You mentioned the dolphins, the whales,
Yeah.
other animals, what's actually happening in there, and maybe they've just reached this Zen state where they've accepted the fact that, yeah, we're gonna die, and I'm on this beautiful savanna, and I'm just gonna like chill and do my thing.
Yeah.
I don't need to have and I got enough people taking pictures of me, so that are on safari.
I'm going to
Maybe I
leave my
don't need it.
legacy. Yeah.
Right. My legacy is taken care of.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
maybe it is at a more primal point where legacy is just about um, the next generation.
So I just want to point out, Rob, that even thinking about legacy is a uniquely human thing as well. I
Because I'm
think.
thinking about it. I
Because you're
think.
thinking about it. I think. Yeah.
I think you're right.
So share a few of the other answers we got in that survey we did about what it means to be human.
Yeah, so the vulnerability definitely came out. I liked somebody wrote, my friend Anita wrote, being human means having hope.
Mm,
Having hope, being able, and again, forward thinking and
yeah,
aspirational
right.
sort of desire.
Knowing that what's
Um,
happening right now might not be the future state.
yes.
Yeah.
Comedy came up a couple of times. Um, Being able to laugh at yourself and others, not in a negative way necessarily.
Right.
Loving everyone. There's a very smart young man with the last name Ross who put in free will.
Yes. And that was like a throwaway comment in the car. He was like, I don't know, free will? And I'm like, you're not wrong.
No,
Sorta. Yeah.
no. I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole of what
Yeah.
is
Well, we
free
will.
will. Yeah, to be continued.
Yes. The comedy one was interesting to me too, because that's also kind of to me linked to awareness. Like
Yeah.
I understand that this situation is absurd or that you're going to think this joke is funny or that so
Yeah.
it's about I'm aware that there's more than just me and what's in my own head.
And I would link comedy with vulnerability
Oh yeah.
as well, because you do have to have some vulnerability to laugh at yourself, or do something to get other people thinking
Yes.
and reflecting.
Right. Again, reflecting, very human trait.
Yes. Yes.
The wildebeest is not thinking about how they could have captured their prey better, giving themselves feedback on
The
it.
next time.
Well,
And
they
yet,
learn though, it's an instinct, right?
yeah, if they miss, then they got to figure it out. But
Right.
yeah.
But I don't think that's the result of reflection. I think that that's the result of like stimulus and response or cause and effect, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Like I needed to leap sooner or bite harder or whatever that
Yeah.
is. Sadly, we were talking about Disney movies and the anthropomorphication of
Yes.
those characters. You never see that. Like, Mustafa wasn't teaching, like they kind of reference it. Oh, they're
Uh-huh.
teaching him how to kill, but you don't really see it like,
Right.
well, son, here's what you really need to do. Um,
The
next time.
the named characters who break into song are not giving feedback to each other the way humans would. I
No,
love
only
this.
only maybe that they sounded a little pitchy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So again, we're not here to provide answers. We're here to just ask some provocative questions and have some good discussion
And to get
and
people thinking
get you
for
thinking. And
themselves.
so, yeah, so we both would love to know what you think about this first conversation about self-awareness, consciousness, what the brain knows about itself, and is that a uniquely human trait or not? Is that the thing for you that separates us from AI, or is it something else that we're going to discuss in one of our upcoming episodes? So we'd love to hear from you. I am on Instagram, Red Slice Maria, and Rob is at Instagram on
At Empathy Activist.
amazing. So let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you are intrigued by this podcast subseries and stay tuned for episode 2 next week.
I can't wait for episode 2. We're gonna talk about rebooting your brain.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, yeah, that's your teaser. And we hope you have a great day. As I sign off all my episodes, please remember that cash flow, creativity, and compassion are not mutually exclusive. Stay well and be kind.